Welcome to The Queen's Lair, a lifestyle podcast. Get inspired by our latest tips and information about small business, entrepreneurship, natural hair, travel, food, and even relationships. Stay tuned for another great episode. I am your host, Renee Patrice. Thank you so much to all the listeners of the Queen's Lair podcast. If you find this podcast helpful, you feel like this podcast has helped you in your business life, helped you to decide if you're going to take that leap into entrepreneurship, or you just love the weekly encouragement, consider supporting us on Patreon. That's www.patreon.com. That's patreon.com/The Queen's Lair. Support us. We want to do amazing things with this podcast, but we can't do it without your help. Consider supporting us on patreon.com/The Queen's Lair. Thank you so much for your continued support. Hey everybody, welcome back to my podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. You know that I am cranking these podcasts out. I want to do at least 4 podcasts a month. I have some new things to announce and things that are coming up, so I want to keep everybody informed of what's going on. But first and foremost, I want to say thank you to all of my listeners. Thanks to all of my listeners in the United States. Thank you so much to my folks in the Bahamas. Thank you so much to the folks over in Austria. Thank you so much, Mexico. Thank you so much, United Kingdom. Thank you so much, Australia. These are the top places that are listening to my podcast, and I just hope it just continues to grow. If you are listening through Spotify, if you're listening through Apple Podcasts, the different formats that people are coming through, that's even kind of shocking as well, because I didn't even know I was over on those other formats. But the one format that we have added recently that I actually went out for to be added to was iHeartRadio. And apparently those listeners over there are on it. So thank you so much to my listeners over at iHeartRadio. We finally got the podcast on there. My Spotify listeners, my listeners on Anchor, my listeners on Overcast, all my folks over at Castbox, Apple Podcast, and we also are now on Google Podcast. This thing has just grown so much, especially in like the last, I would say 6 months since the beginning of the year. It has really grown. So thank you so much to all of you. Announcements. Okay, my first announcement that I have is that if you guys don't know, my sister works with me. She does a lot of creative stuff for me, and we collab on ideas and things like that. So she helps with another end of the business. So we have some collaboration coming very soon. We're going to drop that information very soon. So please stay tuned for that. It is in the lifestyle arena, and I promise you are going to love it. If you are about lifestyle, if you are about, home goods and things of that nature, you are going to love what we're fashioning up right now. So please stay tuned for our lifestyle brand that we have coming very soon. It is dropping in September. Okay, so that's the first announcement. Second announcement has to do with the direction that Onyx Queen Media is going. The direction that Onyx Queen Media is going is that we are going to keep pushing this podcast. We are going to make this podcast a thing. We want this podcast to grow so much so that we are now, we get a lot of people, how can we support? You can support by clicking subscribe. If that is what you can do, that is what you can do. If you want to take it up a notch with your support, just to let you guys know, we are now on Patreon. So if you guys are on Patreon and you are familiar with the Patreon platform, Patreon allows creatives like myself to be able to fund their businesses. So it allows creatives to be able to get new microphones if they need to buy a new laptop, whatever it is, a tablet, all the things that I use or people like me, creatives like me, use for our everyday business. And it takes a lot to edit the podcast. It takes a lot to churn out new information all the time. It's a lot of research as well, because these are not just subjects that I just grab out of the air. A lot of times there are subject matters that I do a little bit of research on so that I can speak intelligently on it, especially if it's something that doesn't directly affect me, but I know it may affect my audience. So those sort of things take a lot of thought process to them. So we are now on Patreon. So if you visit www.patreon.com, that's patreon.com/The Queen's Lair. Visit patreon.com, find The Queen's Lair. We're a lifestyle podcast. Find us on there, and we have 5 different tiers of ways that you can support us monetarily. Very simple. So I'm going to go through the tiers real quick, and then I'll get into today's podcast. The first tier is the bronze tier. That's $3 per month. Okay. This tier grants you access to a bonus episode each week. So instead of getting just 4 episodes a month, that's 1 per week, you're actually going to get 8 episodes. Okay. And those episodes are usually going to be geared towards entrepreneurship. We're going to be talking about business, but it's going to dig a lot further than just the quicker podcast. And you'll be able to get early access registration for anything Onyx Queen Media. So any events that we have going on, that includes online as well. So any of our digital webinars and things like that we have, you will have early access to that. And we will also occasionally throw out a discount code to those people as well. You will also have Patreon access to the online community. So you can send messages, you can ask questions and participate in the Patreon, the Patreon page, and you could ask any questions that you want and join in on the discussions. Okay. So that's the first level. The second level is $5 a month, and that gives you everything in the bronze tier. This is the silver tier. Gives you everything that I mentioned from the very first tier, and in addition, you get 15% off any Onyx Queen Media events. So things like the Pink Leaf Retreat that's coming up in October, you would get 15% off of that. Whatever the price going on at that time, you get an additional 15% off of it. That also includes 15% off any digital products. So for our webinars or anything that we have online, you will be able to get 15% off of that. The next level up is the Gold Star level, and that's $10 a month. That will give you everything in the very first tier, plus 25% off any Onyx Queen Media events, including digital webinars. The next level is the Platinum Star level, and that's $25 a month. That will give you everything in the very first tier, plus 35% off any Onyx Queen Media events, and we do several events per year. That also includes digital webinars, okay? And as a plus, it also includes a sponsored segment on my show. So that means I'm going to name drop you. I'm going to say the name of your business. I'm going to say what you do, all of that. You're going to get a shout out basically throughout one episode of The Queen's Lair. The top tier is $50 a month. So if you're rocking out with us like that, and you're doing a $50 a month donation to us so that we can really build this podcast and make it pop, that's the diamond tier. And this tier gives you everything in the very first tier, but you get 50% off any Onyx Queen Media events, including digital webinars. And here is the kicker of it all. You get a sponsored episode of the Queen's Lair podcast. Like I said, we're going to name drop you throughout that episode, but we're also going to give you producer credits. Okay? Producer credits. So you can actually tell people, yes, I produced an episode of the Queen's Lair podcast. You can also join us on that said episode and promo your business because you rock with us like that. So we're going to allow you to come on, talk about your business, basically do a mini interview and tell the world about what it is that you do. Okay? So those are the different levels. Patreon.com. Find us there. The Queen's Lair. Please support us. We definitely have a lot of things that we want to do. We actually want to start traveling to events and taking the podcast on the road with us to events. So that is something that we would love to build on as well. So please, www.patreon.com/The Queen's Lair. Support us however you can. If you don't have the money to support, we understand. Like, share, subscribe. Those are the bare minimum things that you can do. That helps us out tremendously. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. So let's get into the meat of today's podcast. Today's podcast is called Your Wants Don't Match Your Hustle. Okay, this is something that I talk to clients quite a bit about. Former clients, current clients, if I'm doing a speaking engagement, these are things that I talk to people about all the time because it keeps coming up. People always want to be at the top of their genre, their game, or whatever it is that you do. I don't care if you're in music, I don't care if you are in the lifestyle business, food business, whatever, an author, all these sort of things. People want to reach the peak of their particular genre and their expertise, but they don't want to do the work, and that is a very tough place to be in. You cannot be at the top of your peak. You cannot be at the top of your game if you're not constantly on the pulse of what is happening within the circle for which you represent. So if you're an author, you need to get up and you need to go to networking events with other authors. You need to go to networking events that support authors. You need to go to writers conventions and things like that. Always be sharpening up your skills, whatever it is. If you are a chef, and I do have chef clients, if you're a chef, you need to always keep your skills fresh. Even if you can't afford to do classes all the time, you may be a chef that's just starting out. You may not be able to afford to do classes. Listen, go on YouTube. You can learn so much from YouTube. Online is like a Pandora's box. You dig into one thing and you find more and more and more. It is so amazing how people can learn things on YouTube. YouTube has been a huge resource for so many people to, sharpen up their skills. So if you don't have the money for classes, go on YouTube. There are so many professional chefs that have actually classically trained professional chefs that are on YouTube sharing their information for free. Then there are some that never went to culinary school in their life, but they've been doing this for so long and their hustle is so high that they have become an expert in their field, and they have these great foodie YouTube channels that you just can't even imagine. All of this is for free. You don't have to pay a dime. So there's no excuse for you to work hard. There's no excuse for you to let things slide. If you are a singer, if you're in the music business, the same thing. You have to continuously feed your craft. Go to those conferences, go to those, music master classes and things like that. I just went to a master class not so long ago. That had to do with the music business because I do have music clients and I want to be able to serve them even better than I have, So doing that masterclass was amazing. Often when you attend master classes, some of the people that will sit on the panel are just phenomenal. This last masterclass that I went to just a few weeks ago, let me tell you some of the people that were sitting on this panel. You had Donald Lawrence, who is gospel royalty. He was there. You had Kiara Sheard was there. Sir the Baptist was there. He was on the panel. Then there was a gentleman from RCA Inspiration on the panel. I believe, I don't want to get his name wrong, but I think it's Damon Williams. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Where else are you going to get that type of information than things like a master class or an online webinar and, all of these sort of things? And a lot of these are free. A lot of times you'll see ads come up in the middle of while you're scrolling through Instagram. Really read through and see what people are doing and sharing their knowledge. And a lot of times it's free or the cost is minimal. So take advantage of that stuff and keep your skills sharpened at all times, because you cannot want to get to the top, but you don't want to do the climb. It just does not work. It does not work. And another thing that I see happening all the time is people expect a lot. They feel like things are owed to them. In business, especially being an entrepreneur, because I know that the majority of my listeners are entrepreneurs or are playing the dual role where they still have a 9-to-5 and also have their side hustle with their business. Nobody owes you anything. No one owes you a thing. What you owe is you owe it to yourself to master your craft. Master your craft so that no one can ever tell you, oh, you didn't work hard. Never get to the point where you want to ride on somebody else's coattails, waiting for somebody else to post you, waiting for somebody else to give you a shout out. Shout yourself out. People don't want to give you a chance, or maybe something has happened with your brand and maybe it went to the left for a minute and maybe people are not really fooling with you like that anymore. Maybe they're like, oh, well, you're a bit of a risk for us now. Put yourself on. I just had this conversation with my sister actually earlier today. And I said, you know what? I'm not waiting for anybody to put me on. I'm not waiting for anybody to shout me out. You want to shout me out? That's amazing. You want to say something positive about me or my brand or anything like that? That is amazing. I will greatly accept it. I think it's amazing. But I'm not waiting for people to do that. I'm shouting myself out. I'm putting myself on. And my sister, we were going back and forth and messaging with this earlier today. And she was like, you know what? I'm just listening to your message, just nodding my head up and down like, yes, this is so true. I'm not afraid of rejection from any brand, bigger brands when you try to collab with folks. I'm not afraid of rejection because to me, rejection, what that says to me is, okay, maybe that wasn't their vision. Maybe that wasn't that time. That rejection to me makes me more creative. It makes me think, okay, what else do I need to do? What else can I do to put my brand out there to get that yes? And I will tell you, there are some things coming down the pike for my brand that I can't even believe. Things that I can't even, maybe after tomorrow I'll be able to talk about it because I have a meeting about, a pretty major collab that's coming up for us in the fall. Like, I just can't even imagine. And I did not approach this brand. This brand approached me. So when you stay consistent and you get on your hustle and you do the things that you know you need to do to get to where you need to be within your own brand, people will start to recognize it. And they'll be like, okay, this person is hustling over here. Let's go have a conversation with them because they look like they're moving and shaking and doing things. I'm not one of these folks that's out there thirsty to, I got to collab with this person. Never be thirsty to collab with anyone. Create your own lane. Master your craft. Do not wait for anyone to shout you out. Create your own space. Your wants don't match your hustle. If you feel like you're going to sit back and just wait for things to come, it does not work that way. Just remember that. No one owes you anything, but what you do owe is you owe it to yourself to learn as much as you can about the area, the genre of which you are in, and be so impeccable about it that when people do approach you, you are ready. You're ready to work. Your paperwork is tight. Everything is just up and running, ready to take off. Don't expect people to give you anything. Business just doesn't work that way. If you're blessed enough for somebody to come and bless you in your business, it's wonderful. But don't wait for that to happen. Sometimes blessings don't activate themselves until you get up and start doing the work that you need to do. I'm going to end it right there. We're going to keep it short today. All right, this is Renee Patrice. You're listening to the Queen's Layer podcast. If you want to connect with me online, please do. I love talking to my supporters at Onyx Queen Media across all platforms. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.